Resolve's Film Luts, the Film Look Creator and the plugin Dehancer. 3 different look development tools that all promise the same thing, achieving the look of analog film. Or at least what we think of when we say that. To make this review as concise as possible, I'm going to compare these tools in 3 categories. The first one, simplicity and consistency. How quickly can you achieve a great look and does it work on all of your footage? The second one, a little more advanced, is versatility and control. Can the look be customized to exactly what you've got in your mind? And if so, how deeply does the tool allow you to change its core parameters? Then the third and final point, integration and workflow. How well can the tool be integrated into an existing workflow? Or if you don't have one, how easily can you build a working node structure around that look you just created? Alright, no further talking, let's get into DaVinci Resolve and take a look at these amazing tools. The Film Luts offered by Resolve give you 2 consistent, tried and true, real film looks. They look good on pretty much any footage and apply color and contrast changes, but no effects like grain and halation that are often associated with the film look. Simple, right? Applying the LUTs, however, requires 2 nodes. A CST node, a color space transform with the output gamma set to Cine on film log, and a node for applying the LUT itself. So once you got that right, you will get consistent results rather quickly. Second one, versatility and control. The problem with making a look with just LUT is the lack of control. For getting the full potential these 2 LUTs can offer, you have to combine them with a good node tree. And that brings us right to the third point, integration and workflow. Because the LUT works like a film print, think of these as a last step in your color grading workflow. I'm not going to go into detail here, but if you're coming from another program or used a different workflow before, you really gotta get used to the DaVinci Resolve way of things. But you will have to learn that anyway, don't you? So you'll get a nice, fixed look quickly, but not a complete package. And that's where our next tool shines, the Film Look Creator. Starting on the first step again, simplicity and consistency, the Film Look Creator works on just 1 node. The first section offers you different presets that quickly apply color and effects. That's already a big difference to the LUTs we've used before. These presets are very broad and stylized. We want to go into more detail here. The clean slate gives you a totally untouched image that you can start to work with. The film looks down here are all trying to resemble a film print. For example, the Rochester option should resemble a Kodak 2383 print, while the Akasaka option should resemble a Fujifilm print. But those aren't accurate at all and just a stylized direction you can go. If that's what you're looking for, it's definitely possible to achieve a relatively good look that works on every piece of footage quickly with just 1 node and the preset options. And if you're coming from something like Adobe Premiere, this will make it super easy to create a film look in DaVinci Resolve. Second thing, versatility and control. The film looks are fixed, and while they do look okay, there are plenty of options to build upon that fixed look. These tools down here are really powerful and are all oriented towards achieving a more vintage image, but when it comes to finer adjustments, they are lacking. For example, the split toning slider. Being able to just use 1 slider to get color separation is great to have, but it lacks a little bit of control over, for example, cleaning black and white so you don't get color casts in that region, which now requires a new node, and that completely defies the purpose of having all the tools built in. Third point and final point before we get to Dehancer, integration and workflow. The integration when it comes to color management is clear for anyone who has worked with DaVinci Resolve's color space transforms before. The Film Look Creator works in any color space you'd want to use it in, and is therefore less limiting than the Film Look LUTs we discussed earlier that only work in Cine on film log. It's easy to use, and it does offer all the basic controls, However, it can feel limiting for advanced users, similar to color grading in Premiere, where broad sliders offer quick results, but it rarely feels truly intentional. Now that you know what those two inbuilt tools do, let's talk about Dehancer, which is a plugin that offers realistic film stocks, film prints, everything you'd want, right? Starting with simplicity and consistency again, what immediately struck me when I first tried Dehancer is how everything is named. Super easy to understand, and you won't need a tutorial to be able to start building your look. Although it's very different from DaVinci Resolve, so if you're used to that, you will have to take a moment to just find out what everything does. Dehancer works a bit like the Film Look creator, or the other way around, but you can choose actual film stocks and film prints, not just the somehow inspired options you have at the Film Look creator. The core look you're doing is therefore split in two, film stock and film print. You can go as simple as applying a stock and a print and call it a day, but we want to go into a little bit more depth right there. There's a huge variety of film stocks and 2 film prints, and all of those looks are incredibly unique. We're already talking about how unique this tool is, but to understand it a little better, we have to go into our second section, which is versatility and control. Once you've found your core look, building upon that is, just like the Film Look creator, possible within just that one node. But the order in which the customization can be done is very different. You're working before, in between and after the core look you've created with your film stock and film print. It's a very analog, film development way of processing the image, which seems complicated at first, but is actually pretty intuitive. What's still a little confusing to me is that some tools are double. We have 2 density sliders that do completely different things. We don't have a saturation slider that lets us boost the saturation, only a color boost slider, which works differently. And also the split toning, that we've already had as an example for the Film Look creator, works completely differently. You have a few sliders to, for example, push blue or red into the shadows, the midtones or the highlights. But that's it, you can only push blue or red. No other use, which doesn't really make sense to me, and you will need a new node in order to make a great split toning. So, all in all, very different to the Resolve way, but I think that is just due to Dehancer working like real film development. At our third point, it gets really interesting. Integrating Dehancer into an already existing workflow is rather difficult, or at least not as straightforward as the Film Look creator. In a node tree without Dehancer, every node has a purpose. Dehancer does everything in one while still not offering everything. If you've used a specific tool before at a fixed place in the node tree, you'll have trouble implementing that together with Dehancer. That starts with the built-in color space transform. Instead of having to know your camera's parameters, you just enter the camera model directly. Simple, right? It's very different to the native DaVinci Resolve color space transform. Sometimes it looks much better, and sometimes, especially when there's a lot of red in the skin tones of the shot, it just looks wrong. Using my DaVinci White Gamut workflow, for example, makes me feel like I'm missing out because it doesn't look nearly as good, while their inbuilt CST limits me in using the tools that I used in DaVinci White Gamut before. Dehancer has a recommended node tree for DaVinci Resolve, but that one is prone to the exact same issues with the color space transforms I just talked about. But after all, just fiddle around with the settings, try everything out, and you will find the workflow that works for you. In conclusion, Dehancer is very straightforward to use once you've got everything set up. But the setup process and the node tree integration gave me, a bit of a perfectionist, some good amount of headaches. Criticism aside, there's no other tool that offers the same look that Dehancer offers.